welcome to Veteran Cinema Podcast. I'm Joe. Here with me is my co-host Dan.
Hello and greetings.
Now, before we start, do remember to hit the subscribe button and to share the video.
We want to reach 1,000 subs, and when that happens,
we'll publish the first chapter of a dark fantasy novel we've been working on. So on with the show. Now, Goldeneye was released around 93 or 94, and it's an interesting movie. Wait, it was 94, I think. I might have to edit this part out of the video. No, wait, 95. Yeah, in case people go, you can usually count on a YouTuber's knowledge.
not always. I just remember this movie came out around the same time as the Nintendo 64.
Yeah, so it would have been 95, no matter what. All right. The thing with the movie is this came after the drought that was that followed after Timothy Dalton's run on Bond. A rather unmemorable period, in my opinion. Now, I must confess, I'm not much of a James Bond fan.
Neither am I.
I love Sean Connery's non-James Bond movies better than I like his James Bond movies. I always felt Connery was held back by Bond. And that's where... Now, the thing with the Goldeneye movie was Pierce Brosnan brought with him a lot of fan support when he became James Bond. And while the subsequent movies were hotly debated, some were good, some were bad, no one seems to question that Goldeneye was worth something. It was a really good movie. And we're watching it because, well, we decided to include a few Cold War veteran movies. And this movie seemed to fit, in a way. Mm-hmm. This is one of the only movies that seems to deal with James Bond as a bit of a veteran. As someone who has some trauma, some war trauma beneath the surface, and who struggles with his feelings of failure towards Alexa Villain, whom he thinks he got killed, 006. But Alec turns out faked his death just so he could try to, destroy England, because why the heck not? Because he's a descendant of a Cossack, I think it is. And it's really interesting because the villain basically tries to out-Bond Bond. And he generally succeeds most of the time at it. There's also some other differences. Now, he's played by Sean Bean, who could have been a great James Bond actor himself. Now, that said, Sean Bean went on to have an illustrious career and to be a glorious actor.
He's Sean frickin' Bean.
Yeah. Now, he plays the main villain with a lot of panache and a bit of some class, but also a brutality about him. As, it's highly implied he's a rapist, for example. Mm-hmm. Where Bond prefers to seduce women, Alec prefers to, rape. He's not too concerned about consent. And his right-hand woman isn't too concerned about consent either, as she's basically a Black Widow. Now, she's played by the very beautiful Famke Janssen, who sports a Georgian accent, I guess, for the movie. And she literally climaxes whenever she murders people. It draws a really disturbed look from the KGB member, sometimes next to her, who's just like, the hell, woman?
I was in the copter with
her for how many hours? Now, with that said, Alec's scheme is really interesting because he uses the Goldeneye laser, which shoots electromagnetic nuclear pulses to overcharge all electrical devices in the area and blow the crap out of them. And the thing is, the only two survivors of one explosion were Boris, a crude idiot of a hacker who, I say idiot, he's just really got these dumb moments. As he's greedy beyond compare.
Mm-hmm.
Alec wants to throw a fit at England, but he wants to get rich while doing it. He's a bit of a Xanatos Cryon from Star Wars Jedi Apprentice. He always has two motives to everything, almost three, and he's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
He's the first James Bond villain I find who can match Bond in every way, in how suave he can be, in how brutal he can be in a fight, and in his cunning.
Yeah.
And how far he thinks ahead. So this leaves Bond at a bit of a disadvantage. And in this movie, we get Natalia, I can't remember her Russian name, who ends up being, she's a level 2 hacker, I think it is, and she ends up actually progressing as a hacker and as a badass. She's actually really, really capable in this movie. And even ends up swiping a copter by the end to help Bond out. Which is, yeah, like she gets quite a few badass moments. Not all Bond girls are as memorable as her.
Mm-hmm.
A few are, but not all. But none of them ever been in as good a movie. And I like the small character moments between her and Bond, where Bond, for example, she's asked by him, like, how can you live with all this violence and whatnot? And and how can you be so cold? It's how I stay alive, is what Bond tells her. And she says, that's no way to live. And that's a great character moment, as we also get Bond looking like he's in mourning, because she asked him right before that, like, so you're going to kill Alex Trevelyan, your former best friend. It's just that simple. And he says, yeah, I guess so. He doesn't sound entirely sure, and he sounds like he's in mourning and he's grief-stricken.
Mm-hmm. Because usually we imagine James Bond as this very
suave,
super spy
who never questions his mission.
Who never questions his mission, and who always bangs the chick.
Now, he does bang this chick, but the thing is,
we get a bit more of the
man behind the visor, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
As Bond is in mourning for, essentially his best friend in a way, but then he does it a second time because this best friend proves to be a psychopath. And he never had any idea. He looked up to the man. And the fact that the man's willing to kill Q and all the rest of the people he used to work with, it shocks Bond.
And Bond having to come to terms with the fact that he is going to have to kill
that best friend of his.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really great arc where you almost question whether Bond can do it or not. And I like how Alec always tells him, for England, right? And Bond never denies it. It's all for England. But then at the end when he says, like, you'll kill me for England? No, for me. Comes out of Bond.
Mm-hmm.
Where, yeah, it's not right for a hero to take vengeance. But on the other hand, for the first time in his career, James is starting to do things for himself. Not just for his country. Now, it's fine for him to love his country as much as he does. And there's a lot to love about England. But the thing is, and there's very little to hate about England, given how awesome it is. But the thing is, James has to start doing things for himself if he wants to re-enter normal society. And if he wants a life beyond the killing and the blood and the bullets. So, in that regard, Bond is a character who does need to grow. Now, the problem is, Goldeneye comes off like it's almost at the end of the road. Like it's the epilogue or something. And Bond doesn't really have too many missions left ahead of him. That's how it feels when you're just watching this movie on its own. And it does a great job of that. All the actors are perfect. Mm-hmm. Notably, Pierce Brosnan and Sean Bean. Two near-perfect actors. And I've seen Brosnan in a lot of other movies. He's always great. He also has a great singing voice. Mm-hmm. I'm kidding. But what did you think of this movie? You were really reluctant to get into it.
Yeah, because I thought it'd be just another spy thriller. But I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, this is one of those movies which should probably be in the top 100 movies of all times.
James Bond should be more like this movie.
Yeah, where there's lots of action, sure, but there's also character exploration. There's intense stakes.
It's,
Almost a thriller.
yeah, like Jason Bourne.
Although it should never have gone the route it did under Daniel Craig, where it just became cheap Dark Knight knockoffs.
Yeah.
Those movies are just impossible to like. Or at least I think so. But let's rate this movie. I'm gonna rate this one a 3.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it as well.
This movie is beautiful. The cinematography is magnificent. Remember this scene by the lake in Cuba?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was beautiful.
Oh, I hate car chases, but I like that the villains all choose these cars and trucks. Bond goes for the mother effing tank. And even ends up adjusting his tie at one point, a little self-consciously, like, oh, my tie's out of place.
And remember my joke about that? About the tank? Oh, he went native.
Yeah, in Russia, because, oh, shouldn't every Russian have tanks and be driving them down the street? Which is now, him grabbing the tank is also a reference to Q telling him, you have a license to kill, but not break the traffic laws. Bond goes and does it with a freaking tank. And, like, I'm sorry, but I hate car chases in almost every movie I see them in. Except maybe T2 and the odd Jason Bourne one. Generally, I hate car chases because they're just so boring.
Yeah, they blend into each other.
But this one didn't. It was crafty.
Some of the humor in here was more tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, like
it's
Bond
like
cracking a few puns at Q's expense. It really feels like two almost war buddies just laughing with each other. But then the movie gets really serious, and Bond has a bit of a cold side.
Mm-hmm. Remember when James Bond was having that stick measuring contest?
Oh yeah, you have to tell you, you're like two boys with toys.
And the fact that James Bond manages to win him over.
Yeah, well, then the KGB member shows up and shoots that Minister of Defense.
Yeah.
With Bond's gun, and then Bond overpowers him and escapes with Natalia.
Yeah.
The movie is clever beyond measure. It is a good movie. I rank it up there with the Jason Bourne trilogy, with a lot of great movies. This is one of those must-see movies.
Yeah.
It's not just an action movie. It's a movie with a lot of heart, which is unusual for James Bond movies, because most of them are feel manufactured. Whereas this one actually felt like there was heart and soul to it.
Mm-hmm, because
it's about basically the fallout of two brothers turning on each other.
Mm-hmm, because to compare it to the Abrams Star Trek movie, this is a bit of the opposite, because they both had pre-existing franchises. The Star Trek movie
shot it all over them.
Yeah, and was a disaster. The Goldeneye movie, you could take it as a standalone, but it's a lot better.
But if you consider it a sequel to all the previous eras of James Bond that preceded it, it's a great swan song and end song for James Bond. I kind of think that this should have been the ending almost for the movie franchise.
Yeah.
Because James has one last mission that where he has to turn on. Him and 006, his longtime partner and best mate, have to kill each other. And I almost wish that 006 had made a few prequel movies with 006 and 007 working together.
So that way we could bond with 006, and then when he goes rogue,
we can really feel anger at his betrayal. Anyways, I would have also liked it if Goldeneye was a miniseries or something. Almost. Yeah. But anyways, it's such a great movie. So do watch it. And stay tuned for more of our podcasts. Not just our cinema ones, but our book clubs and others. And don't forget to Like and comment. Tell us what you think of this movie. What's your favorite James Bond movie? We'd be curious to know, Mr. Fans and Mrs. Fans and Ms. Fans. I couldn't resist that joke. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so that we can publish the first chapter of a dark fantasy novel we've been working on. So stay tuned, and till next time.